Today I'll be showing how to change default looking waterfalls into more custom ones. Hey, it's Muffin. Stick around to see the process of how this default waterfall changes into a custom one. You'll see how, through small tips and tricks, your own world can develop character. Leave some comments down below for suggestions for future videos, but for this one, sit back and enjoy the process. The stream is meant to have been carved from this small lake at the top of the hill, and it leads down to the waterfall. It's natural that your surroundings for the stream and for the lake are made of stone, and over time with water they grow moss. See, it's the stone that's harder to be eroded, I believe, that creates these channels where the more erodible materials like dirt are carved away over time. Typically most cliff faces in Minecraft are made of dirt, but if you can swap that to stone, as well as the bed of your river to stone, then you can give the illusion that what remains is what could not have been eroded. As the stream is younger than the lake, it tends to be shallower. Adding moss to one side of a rock formation is a very simple way of showing life in your build. That moss has grown over time, where it was able to impact this rock formation. Another way of showing life in your build is by adding vegetation around the stream. Adding mushrooms also brings forth colour to what was a original brown, green and grey block palette. If you're enjoying the video so far, please do like. And if you have any suggestions for what I should build in the future, leave a comment. Adding purple through lilac and amethyst brings forth a colour that's not typically found in nature. And the reason for me doing so in this build was that I wanted it to feel fairy-like. An unintentional effect of adding a purple and green colour palette is that at night with the aurora lights, it tends to match it. Adding seagrass to the beds breaks up the grey wall that is essentially the bed at the moment. Another function that it plays is that grass will typically grow where there's a lesser flow, so then it will indicate where the higher flow areas are. A very easy way of building waterfalls is to first just let the water fall, and then by using stone, direct where you want the water to flow, and later on we can make these stone boundaries just into rock formations. I tend to like to create these splits in the waterfall because I feel it adds more character, but by no means is this necessary. I made this small arch that has a glowberry hanging from it that at night time will be luminescent because it adds to the atmosphere and really hints towards this very like nature of this lake and stream and waterfall. The glow at night also functions to catch the eye. I happened to, by chance, discover a small cave underneath where the water is falling. I wanted to incorporate it by having it as a hidden cave behind the waterfall. It's almost impossible that the stream will create a waterfall that is to your liking. So, to shape the water in the way that you've imagined, we can use the stone again to create new boundaries, or to cut it off where it juts out to force it to take a step in. We can also use water buckets as a means of spreading the water where it would not naturally flow. The greens and blues and purples really come together at night when the ground is essentially reflecting the night sky above. The small dips and the pops of colour here and there really add character to this waterfall. Where water falls from a great height, it tends to create splashes and mist. Normally, from other builds and what people tend to do, they will use cobwebs or glass, but it doesn't add life to your build. There is no animation. So I like to use this method where by placing signs it creates a void underneath, and by placing campfires the smokes emulate the mist that comes up. I repeat this approach wherever there are small dips of the stream or the waterfall, and I deepen these holes that I'm digging to match up with the top of the smoke. Now, sometimes it can go too high, but adjusting the height fixes that. As the water that hits the water level tends to be falling from a much greater height, it tends to have a far greater spray. And so we can either have the campfires being higher, or by placing hay bales underneath to send the plumes further up. It's always easy to build the build, but until there's a story behind it, it's only a bunch of blocks. By adding a story, you create life in your builds, you make it personalized. In this case, this person ended up dying here, but I wanted to leave it as a mystery as to the cause of his death. Was it perhaps poison by eating the fish in the lake? Did he die from sickness or any other cause? As there is a town nearby, I also wanted it to just be a personal lore that this person was from that town. And because that town is so distant from anyone, there was no support for him. With the understanding that there is a town nearby, I then thought that the best way to incorporate this build into the lore of the world is to have a small path and a small bridge passing over it. village nearby has been cut off by mountains and ice and is entirely self-sufficient, so it does not have many travellers coming in, nor is there as such a need for the town to have its own defence. The elements themselves act as a barrier for it. With it being so distant from everyone and with the journey being so hard, it then makes sense for that traveller to find some comfort in stumbling across a lake and being in a deprived condition. To finish off the build, add moss blocks or mossy cobblestone on top of the rocks that are adjacent to the water. In doing so, it shows that there is age in your build, and it also brings colour to what would otherwise just be a grey build. So with that, the build is complete. I hope you learnt something along the way and hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, please do leave a like, leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a good day.